Okay, so it is game time, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you guys know that you're literally your office IAPs start coming in and are turned on in exactly 2 months. Everyone digest that for a minute. 2 months. It has been almost 2 months since the year started. It flies. And so I want to make sure, we all know that. And it can be freaky and scary, but we're here every step of the way, to help you guys with stuff. And so I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So one of the assignments that's due, Brian said he'd really like them done by next week. But the deadline for sure is 2 weeks from now, because when he comes back from the company Europe trip on March 11th, he's back in the office. He has to submit all the orders for mailers. So that's going to be like the week where they're finalizing all the final mailer counts. But prior to that, he needs to have all of the high school graduations. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys. Let me go ahead and so everyone put ldvm.com in your browser. I know, Brooke, you've done this already. You can go in and start looking at your stuff. But this is where you guys are going to see currently exactly what you have for your territory. So you want to select the region, Southwest region. You want to select the division, Gulf Coast. You want to select your office, all right? And your name, Morgan, is Missouri City, okay? Grant, your name is Brenham. Gavin, your office name is Conroe. All right. Jackie, your office name is Pearland. Johnny, your office name is North Houston. Cool. So click North Houston. Caden, your office name is Montgomery Co. All right. Brooke, your office name is Clear Lake. All right. Yours is Clear Lake. And then I'll get the others theirs. All right. So you want to click yours. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Friendswood. This is Maddie's. All right. And the password is all lowercase Southwest. All right. All lowercase Southwest. All right. So now we have this here. So if you guys want to look at your zip codes, you can click zips, and this is going to show you the zip codes that are in your area, that are yours, okay? And by the way, it doesn't matter if you have 2 zip codes or you have 20 zip codes. Most branches, I'll tell you guys right now, my #1 branch in West Houston, John Austin, who was top 5 in the country. John Austin had 1 zip code. That was it. We gave him Jersey Village zip code because I already had my office in West Houston, and we normally don't put branches where we have DMs. I gave him 1 zip code and he went to town with that. But how did he build? How do you think he was able to be a national competitive branch, even though he only had 1 zip code? Anyone want to take a guess at what he did?
Recruited.
From where?
Recruiting off
From where?
media marketing.
School. Cool. He did classroom PRs. He sent emails. Like he went to UH, to the business school at Bauer. He helped with campus recruiting. He met people on campus. He talked to fraternities. He talked to Greek life. He presented and he recruited some of those kids. And then he had super strong PR chains. Cool. He also maximized the mailers in his territory. But he understood that he knew that the best recruits that you're going to get in your office, period, are your active recruits. Those are the ones that you create, the people you go out and talk to and hand cards to, and people that you present to, whether it's club meetings, organizations. So start thinking about that now, right? Morgan, what things can you speak to? Find out what's happening in the school, what's happening in the business school at UHD. Like, can you do a presentation just like to share about like keys to, communications? I can give you guys a list of different topics, and whether it's conflict resolution or just life skills, right? Like you're just offering a free talk to a club or to a message or whatever it is. This makes a really big impact. Okay. So anyway, these are the zip codes though that you're responsible for, and there will be mailers that you can send from those. What we need to do that they need is they need high school grad dates. Those are due by March 1st is when he would like for everything to be in. The sooner the better. And you're just going to click here on grad dates, and you guys see here's where you're going to put the date. Okay. So How do you find out the high school graduation dates? Anybody want to take a guess? Brooke, you want to tell us what you did?
Go on the website.
Google it.
Yeah, you can Google it. You can go on the websites and look at their academic calendar. And if it's not on the website, you can just call the school and just say, hey, I just wanted to confirm when graduation is and where it's going to be this year. Okay, great. All right. So I usually acted like, you know, my nephew or niece went there or something. And I was going to say, if they ask me more. All right. So anyway, but you guys are going to put the graduation date here. And then if the school's phone number changed, you want to put it here, and the school website, you guys can put it here. So this already has a lot of school websites on here. She can check to make sure they're the same, and then we can add this other one that we had added on here. All right, so we need to put that, the high school grad dates. Then on the profile, you guys are going to put your information. So we're going to fill this in right now. So you guys go ahead and fill in your personal info. And obviously you're going to put branch manager. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to go ahead and fill that out. So again, yes. Yes, John, all opening offices on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right, so what the company needs is everybody get your profile done and then put in all your high school grad dates. Cool. So that's what we want to make sure is happening there. Now you guys can see all your zip codes so that you guys can do a little bit more digging for social media. Cool. So now you have all your zip codes, so you guys can just look here and you can look and just grab this and go, okay. You can actually look up the schools. Well, actually, you can just look at your high school names. Now you have all your schools in here. So you guys can just look at that. Actually, you don't even need to look zip code by zip code, but I like to look at zip codes for like advertising. Something I used to do was like, I would put this in a search, and I'm going to put here 77041 tech schools, colleges, and university. Beauty schools, and sometimes I search them separate. Looks like I'm offline. So this year, like there's a University of Phoenix, there's a DeVry, there's a Grand Canyon, and we can look to see all the ones in that, you know, in that zip code, or the ones near there, because I got a lot of great people from a nursing school, a massage school, an EMT school. I had a guy who was at a airplane, I don't know, what's it called? Basically learning to be a mechanic for airplanes, right? And there's a school to be a mechanic for airplanes. And so there's just different types of vocational schools and tech schools outside of like just the regular big schools, right? HCC. But you guys can just also just look up all the schools in the area, so you know, like, what are the ones you can put your flyers in, right? Where can you go? Like, these are the ones you're responsible for, these zip codes. So as a branch manager for Cutco, your job is to help maximize recruiting in the zip codes you were assigned. Cool. And so that's through social media, finding the schools, finding the people, campus, going to the schools and putting up posters and flyers, which we're going to be ordering those right when we get back from Europe. So just be ready on Tuesday, March 12th to place your order. We're going to be placing orders that day on how many, and I'll give you guys suggestions, but you know, you can do more if you want, but just to finalize, you guys can look at the designs that are available. And so I'll have, you know, Claudia be able to pop those up so you guys can see the different designs, and you can pick your design. You can pick how many, you know, flyers you want, how many posters, and we need to get those ordered by that day, the latest, so that they arrive by mid-April. But honestly, I'm thinking maybe even next week we order them just to get them early. we'll look at it to see if we can just have the region pay for it and do chargebacks from the startup account. Which means we have to have opening forms filled out, okay? And so that's the next thing that we need to get done, is we need to do your guys' opening forms. And I know that we're gonna have a guest speaker here in 5 minutes, but I just wanna make sure we had, because I know that he said we need to get profiles, we need to get all the high school dates in, and then we need to get orders placed so that they arrive, you know, by the end of March. And obviously, the sooner you get them, the better, because you guys can utilize those on-campus advertising in March and April. And anyone who applies through your link, you can get them set for John's office or whatever and have them train and start working with them. And then when you open, Christina Okanowski did this. And y'all, when she opened, she had 12 people already on her team that were working and selling. Cool. A handful were assistant managers who had started earlier. Others were reps from her advertising in late March and April that started and trained in Jacob's office. And as soon as her office opened on April 23rd or whatever it was, or 26th, those reps all transferred to her. And that helped her be one of the top new district managers in Southwest region and one of the top in the nation. Cool. So doing that, you know, I always hear reps. John Austin was one that later was like, I wish I would have listened to you. He would have sold 350 or more. You know, he did like 270 something, but had he launched the people, or he was like, I'm going to wait so they launch in my office. I'm going to wait. I want to get all their sales. I'm like, you don't understand the power of them starting sooner, working with you, building momentum, building confidence, that when you open, they're ready to roll. They're not a brand new rep. You know, they're already like an assistant manager or like someone who's been here for 3 or 4 weeks and has a much stronger foundation. And so they're able to impact your teams at such a higher level. Cool. And so just, you know, the people who have really done that, they've seen the impact of that. That was the same thing with Jacob Gordon when he opened up and was one of the top. He was #1 that summer when John Austin was #2. He was #1 in Southwest region, or I think there were 2 and 3 in Southwest region and then top of the nation, #1 and 2 in our division. But Jacob Gordon that year was his second time branching. First time he didn't do it right. Second time he was like, all right, getting people obviously from his first branch, but also he was recruiting in late March and April. And so when they went into the summer, boom, you know, like they hit it hard and they had a crew. And they built such an incredible culture. They crushed it up in the Woodlands. And it was just like, everyone loved working there. They were sharing it with everybody. And so he got his AMs early and people on his team early and got them tied into what was happening. And it made it so much easier when they were going out to recruit and sharing the word for summer. And they were able to build much stronger teams a lot faster. All right. So again, we want to help you guys with that so we can help you guys maximize. All right, I got the sun is setting, coming into my face. There we go. I was like, got lines. But we've got Miss Patty, so I'm gonna shift gears here, and then next week we can just get our Vector Connect. Unless you guys get them done sooner, we'll walk through that to make sure we set up your guys' opening forms, because those aren't due yet, but we are going to need those to get everything done, you know, before we order mailers and stuff in March. You don't get any money released to you until that's submitted and approved. Cool. And so we'll fill them out now without offices. And once you guys get your leases, then we'll submit your lease and then you'll have the additional $3,000 available. So initially we can fill out your opening form. You have $3,000 available. We're going to do it as no office. And then as soon as we get your office, we resubmit that, and then they add the additional $3,000 once you have your office space. Cool. So just so you guys know that, so that we can start taking care of things and get you guys moving. So I'm super excited. I know I shared before for Patty to be joining us. Patty was a top ass kicker in every single level of the business. Was one of the top district managers that helped build Rocky Mountain into what it is today. Her and many of you know Tim. Nick Matlack. Nick is one of the division managers in Oklahoma now. They were like besties growing up in the business, helped Drew built Rocky Mountain. She did amazing things, and then got married to her love and moved away to the island. And he was stationed with the military out in the Caribbean. and then had their first daughter, and then had their little baby boy. And she started working with, she's always supported the Rocky Mountain Division, has also started working with Adam Stock and the financial team, somebody who's phenomenal with money, finances, and really is passionate about just seeing people at their best in all levels of life. Very, very holistic approach to everything that she does, but just someone I love to hear speak, so passionate when she's speaking. And I had asked her, she'd asked like, oh, do you want me to come speak to your team before summer? I'm like, every month. And she's like, okay. I was like, yes, and yes, and yes. Because this is a big focus of ours for this year, right? We're having a breakout year, but we want to make sure that you guys aren't just putting up big CPO, but that you're also saving money, that you're managing it the right way, and that you're able to start investing young and building wealth at a young age. Like, that's the game here. All right. It's not just win all the trophies, which is how I was 20 something years ago. It's buy properties, it's invest early, it's manage your money so that you can start building wealth, so that one day you're making money without having to work, without having to trade time for money. And so there's baby steps and things to get ready for the summer, understanding your money, understanding cash flow. We've got a 3-part series we're going to do between this month, March and April. And then obviously we've all talked about, we have Adam Stack, which you guys can you have 2 options. 1, take it out of your startup, or 2, if you have a credit card you want to put, because you get points and your parents approve that, you can put it on the credit card. But making sure that we're all in that program. They're going to help you guys with your P&Ls. You're going to see where all your money's going. You get additional coaching. And so we'll talk more about that as we closer to the summer and get you guys all signed up. But this is who will be helping us with that and leading that. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Patty. I know I didn't get a bio or anything, but she's amazing. Just take down notes. She's freaking awesome. So I'm going to hand it to you.
Thanks, Kathy. I think that you did an incredible job without a bio. So that was fantastic. Thank you. And it's so crazy because just so you all know, I remember being like probably a 2nd or 3rd year district manager, listening to Kathy speak, listening to Kathy's audios on Vector Connect, and just being like, oh my gosh. I remember the first time I ever talked to her at a SLC, I was like, I talked to Kathy. Like, it was such a big deal. She is definitely a idol and somebody who I wanted to be just like. So thank you for being such a great influence and person to model after. I appreciate it. You did a lot for me. So, well, I'm excited for all of you because, like Kathy said, I'm going to be back here. Oh, and by the way, Kathy, congratulations on your girl. I'm so excited for you. It's great to have 2 boys, but yes, you finally get to have a girl. Hopefully she's more girly than my girl, but
I don't know.
so it'll be good. My daughter's super into dinosaurs, and that's all she wants to do all day long. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen, and I have a PowerPoint for you, but this is a multiple part series. So mainly today, I'm going to be talking about just 3 aspects. And first, I'm going to be talking about the breakdown of startup. I'm going to be talking about the cash flow of the summer and just kind of what to expect and start thinking about it. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about startup, because you have 11 weeks. You have 11 weeks before May hits, and some of you might be less than that because you might be getting started in April. So we want to make sure that you take full advantage of your startup. And I'm going to give you some reasons why you really want to go all in for the next 11 weeks to make sure that you have as much startup as humanly possible. So I'm sharing my screen here. If you can see, just give me a thumbs up if you can see my PowerPoint. All right, beautiful. Thank you. Jackie was the first thumb I saw. So basically, the first thing we're going to talk about is the breakdown of startup. And so, the money that the company gives you as a branch is you get $6,000 in startup. And so, like Kathy had just said, this is available to you after your lease has been approved. So she's doing something really awesome for you guys, which is, putting you as like a non-office so you can have that money available. But once you get that startup form signed, then you'll have that or that opening form signed, then you'll have that money available to you. Now, one of the misconceptions is that you just get like a direct deposit of $6,000 in your account. That's not how it works. This just means that it's available to you. Now, there's a few things that come out of this startup that you want to account for as well. So it's not It's not a full $6,000 that you can spend any way you want. A couple of things that come out of this that you will be using for your business is text to schedule. So text to schedule will come out of the startup, so that way you don't even have to think about it. And some of you might have differing numbers for text to schedule. Kathy can get more specific with you about that. So that gets deducted from the 6,000. You get mailers, a certain amount of mailers, and if you decide that you want to do additional mailers, like Kathy was just talking about, then that will also be deducted from the startup. I'm going to be talking a little bit about rising stock, and if you decide to take it from startup, then that will be deducted. So after some of those things are deducted, let's say you have about $5,000 available. Usually, how most divisions do it is you'll have a certain balance available, and as summer goes on, you might want to just keep like a tally somewhere, because a lot of times people have no idea how much startup they have left because it's not written anywhere. It's not listed anywhere. So you might want to keep a tally of your own. But as the summer progresses, when you need money, like let's say you find an office space and you need to put down a deposit, what you'll do is you'll email Kathy and probably Brian Winans at the region, and you'll say, hi, this is Morgan, my rep number is blank, blank, blank. I need X amount of money for my deposit for my office. And then they will put it onto your commission statements. So very rarely is it at ACH to you. It's going to be on your commission statement that comes out on Thursday. So most to all these requests need to be put in on Tuesday. Sometimes you can sneak it in Wednesday, but I wouldn't chance it. So let's say that next week, let's say it's April and you found the office space and you want to put a deposit on it next week. You need to be sending an email to Kathy and Brian asking for startup of a certain amount for this particular reason to be released to you, so it could get on that paycheck, so it can be in your account. So this is one of the things that timing is just really important for you to understand, because some branches don't realize this right off the bat. And then what ends up happening is they just think that they can get this money anytime that they want, which you can. You just have to make sure that it's the timing of the running of the commission statements. So for branches, you get $6,000 worth of startup. Some of those things like text to schedule, rising stock, any other additional mailers will be taken out of that. But then you have the rest to appropriate towards other office expenses. So these expenses might be like an office deposit or receptionist pay for the first week or two as you're getting started. So it's $8,500 with a lease. So I don't think anybody's going virtual, but if you are going virtual, then that's a different story. Now, the district manager, you get $6,000 worth of startup, you get $6,600 worth of direct mailers, and then you get a $9,000 promotional bonus. So that's $3,000 in August, $3,000 in November, and $3,000 in April. So the reason why they do this is so you get the same $6,000 in the summer, just like the branches, but then when the summer is over, when we're transitioning into the fall, you get $3,000. And this is just to give you a little boost to make sure that your fall transition is fantastic. And just so I can get a show of hands, who on here is a branch? Who in here is a branch? Just by show of hands. Okay. And so then we have 2 districts. Is that right? Okay. So this is, so then these 3, 6 and 9 are all meant to just give you boosts as you're finishing the year. With some of the district managers that I coach, what's really awesome about these $3,000 bonuses that they get is they're able to just invest those because they don't really need them for their business. So that's the ultimate goal, is for that to happen. So just a couple of key points that I want you to realize about startup is, one, there's not just like on your commission statement, you see your AM withholdings, right? There's no tracker like that. So having you keep a tally would be helpful. 2, if you need money by a certain time, you need to work backwards and make sure you request it by the previous Tuesday so you can get it released on your commission statement on Thursday. And then for startup, you'll just need to email Kathy your rep number, and the particular reason why you want it and how much. And the main reason that they do this is because if you can imagine, some people, if they got $6,000 or $5,000 directly deposited into their account, it might not even make it till they open up their business. So as part of running your own office, part of the coaching process is to teach you what's the best way to invest this money that the company's giving you into your business. So that's how the breakdown of the money. And then of course there's different expenses that is going to pay for. So these are just a few expenses just off the bat, like your office rent. And here we have like on the lower end, on the higher end. So if you are able to find an office for free, for example, I've known a few branches that have been able to do that. But on the higher end, $2,500 for the summer. Office phone or internet, extra PR callers, office supplies. Hopefully you're getting most of those for free, which we're going to talk about that here in a moment. Online tools like Zoom, wPatti, Apex, advertising, office insurance, and then, office extras. And so these definitely can be things that all the different things that your startup can go to. So any questions about that startup or how to access it or how to get it? Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
so
real quick, Miss Patty, real quick.
John.
Yeah, no, thank
Yeah.
you so much, by the way. I just wanted to check, so can they request their lease money before they sign the lease? Because I thought in the past it was like you gotta send the lease and like they put down like the first deposit like on with their savings, and then they like once the lease gets approved by OEN, then the money sends. Can they send does that make sense? My question?
Yeah. So what I heard Kathy just say is that she's going to have everybody mark their office as no office so that they'll
Okay.
have access to their money sooner. But you're exactly
okay.
right. So if you mark it as like an in-person office, then you do not have any access to your branch or your startup until the lease has been approved. So that's why it's also important to have your own personal startup, right? So your own personal savings. So that way, if that was the case where you need to put down a deposit for your office, but you're not allowed to have any access to the company funds yet, right? Because it needs to be approved, just like John is saying, then it's important that you have some extra money that you can do. But I could be wrong. We could double check with Kathy when she comes back, but I'm pretty confident she just was saying they're going to mark it as virtual so that they'll have access to a lower amount of money, and then they're going to change it later. So
Cool.
that's
So,
what
like,
I
so if we do the virtual, it'd be like sign up for virtual, get their opening form done, get the $3,000, and then sign an office lease, submit the office lease, and once that office lease is approved, then they get the rest of the $3,000.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, because when you do a virtual office, you only get half. You're exactly right. So they would have access to that first half. So perfect, great question. Thanks for asking that. Now, for those of you who are district managers, this is why we always say go DM, because you have all these other additional bonuses that are really exciting, like double monthly, super bonus, campaign growth bonus, pace, and car bonus. And these are all really exciting. One of the things that you'll want to sign up for, and we'll probably talk about this later. This is Mark, by the way. So he wants to say hi. But one of the things that you want to sign up for is our withholdings. And you'll probably want to start this in June. So if you use Google Calendar, which I would imagine most people on this call do, like June, like the second week of June, like a Monday, I would put a reminder to yourself, like set up a voluntary withholding and a tax withholding. So a voluntary withholding and a tax withholding, and I'll probably review those a little bit more on one of our series of calls a little bit later. So, all right. So the startup is just to get you going, and I'm going to show you like the bell curve of essentially the income, but I just want to review the commission structure because, this is the most important reason why you want to get things going right away. And just like Kathy was talking about, Like if you could get a couple of people on your team right away so you can get things going, then you don't have to worry about how much startup you have left. Whoa, Mark decided he wanted to go a little bit ahead. All right, so you don't have to worry about how much more startup you have left because you're making some great money. And as you can see, the smiley face is where all the new businesses, right? So we want to develop people and you want to get people over that 10K mark. But the majority of income where you're going to make that 15 to 25% is from 0 to 6K. So this is why recruiting is the answer. And we want to make sure that you're getting really good at your recruiting systems ASAP. Okay, so the other thing that we want to make sure to do is track your expenses. And so that's why you're going to be able to have rising stock because with this income that you're getting, it counts as income, this startup money. And so by having expense tracking, you're able to make sure that you have all the deductions necessary to limit the amount of taxes that you pay, which we'll get to. So I'm just going to give a couple of examples here. So of income, and these are all from rising stock P&Ls that we've been able to see. And we found that the average range of profitability is anywhere from 8% up to 15% off of an office. So for example, if an office sells 50K, 10% of that, 10% CPO profit percentage is 5,000. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if somebody sells $50,000, they have their amount of money that they brought in from that. And then you deduct all your business expenses. So this is deducting how much you paid for your office, receptionists, mailers, all those different expenses. And it breaks down between that 8 and 15%. So if you had a $50,000 branch and you made 10% CPO profit percentage, that means you'd make about $5,000 for the summer. Best internship that you can find, getting paid $5,000. Now, if you sell, at 50% 5K, you make another additional 2,500. So your estimated profit before your personal expenses would be 7,500. Now, I know you guys are putting together office goals and numbers, and this is just meant to help you dream a little bit, but also just start thinking, because we have the startup, but we want to get your office going as soon as possible. So that way you could be able to earn as much money as possible, right? So at 100,000, your CPO profit percentage is probably going to be a little higher, around that 12%. And so at 100,000, that'd be about 12K. Now I've seen it higher. I've seen it at more like 15%. So it could be $15,000 in amount earned. If you sell $5,000 at 50%, that's 2,500. So the estimated profit before personal expenses is 14. Now, I don't know if any of you guys looked at expenses, or I'm sorry, quantums from this past summer, but if you want to look at somebody like Michael Hall, last summer he was a branch and he sold 300,000. His estimated profit percentage was right around 9%. So he made $27,000 last summer. He did sell 10K at 50%. He made $5,000 there. So he made $32,000 before personal expenses last summer. And then he decided, I should go district because this is pretty cool. So anyway, so let me just show you the cash flow of the summer. And it is kind of like a bell curve, because in May, basically the reason why you get startup is because as a brand new business, you're spending money, you're putting down money for your office, you're paying receptionists, you're getting things set up for your office. And so Adam, who runs Rising Stock, he says that you have a condition called dollaria, where it feels like you just have dollars coming out of your butt in May because you're just spending money. But the whole key is to get things rolling as soon as possible, because then in June, things start to pick up a little bit. You have a team, you have SC1, things start to get really exciting. And this is when your paychecks start to get really, really exciting. This might be the biggest paycheck you ever get in your life. And you're like, oh, I'm rich. And then in July, it goes up even more because you have SC2, you might, and then August, you have that residual income. And depending on, if you're continuing to sell, it will either continue to level off, or it will kind of die down if you go back to school or whatever as a branch. So this is why May the fact that you're spending so much money, it's great that the company gives you money, but it is so important that you have some savings as well. And so I want to talk to you about some steps to building up your startup, because this is going to be really, really helpful for you to make sure that you have the confidence. Because I'll tell you, the people who have money, especially going into the summer, have a different kind of swagger, different kind of confidence. They're willing to take more risks than people who don't have more startup and I feel like they're in a scarcity mindset. So here's a couple of steps to building your startup. One, where are you at and where do you want to be? Where do you want your startup to be? Like I said, you have 11 weeks, maybe less. And what can you do about it? How can you make sure to get there? So how much do you need to sell to save the rest of that amount? And I know many of you have a lot of different things that you're juggling. You're a student, you're an assistant manager, you are trying to sell, you're training for an office, and you got a lot of different plates spinning. And that's why we say hashtag skills for life, because it only gets harder, especially as you add little kids to the mix and you're trying to work and all that stuff. But what's great is you're building your capacity. And so how much can you sell so that way you can make sure that you have a plentiful amount. I'll tell you, Michael Hall, one of the reasons I think he did so well is because he had a really good amount of startups saved before he even went out. So he had this confidence and swagger that, like, I'm just going to recruit, and he wasn't worried about making money. Just like when you're going on demos, if you're thinking about, I need to sell something, you're likely to sell less. Well, it's the same thing with recruiting. If you're like, I need to recruit people, your numbers are probably not going to be as great. So how can we make these next 11 weeks the best that they can be? Make sure you have all your AM pay withheld if you're getting paid off of the office. And then also we'd be talking to friends and family. If all of your friends and family don't know you're running the office, you need to be very vocal about it. And I would be asking people for if they have anything they can donate for the office. So any furniture, chairs, staplers, anything you don't have to put money towards that you can get for free, I'd highly recommend like getting it, because free is my favorite 4-letter F word, and it should be yours too, especially for the next couple of months, because the more free stuff you can get for your office, the less startup you have to use. But talk to your friends and family. And also I'd be telling them, like, hey, I'm going to be spending a lot of money to get this business started, and the company is investing $6,000 into me. I'm open to donation as well for my business too. So with that, one of the things you want to make sure to do, if let's say you're like, you're right, Patty, I need to get a good plan. I'm gonna be selling. Or let's say you're like, hey, I already am selling. I'm selling a ton and I am making a good amount, but I don't know if I'm adding to my startup a whole lot. This is one of the most important times for you to get really clear on your expenses, to make sure that you're not overspending on anything that is not necessary, right? So we have a lot of different small luxuries in life, right? It could be a Starbucks coffee. It could be going out to the movies. And right now, there's a lot of sacrifice that you're putting into starting up this business. But I'll tell you what, the sacrifice that you put in to be able to run this business is going to pay off tenfold at the end of running this business, and experience, money, all sorts of different aspects of life. So we want to get clear on your expenses. And I'll tell you, if in the next 11 weeks, you can really cut down and make sure that you are cutting out any unneeded expenses just to save any money that you can for your office, set a goal by the end of the summer. Like, hey, when I hit my goal, when I work my butt off, by the end of the summer, I'm going to do this for myself. You'll be really, really excited that you did. So you want to get clear on your expenses. So if you don't have like a breakdown of what you're spending, or how much you're spending on different things, I'd highly recommend doing that. There's actually something that I learned about a long time ago as a rising stock coach, something called a meeting with money. Just like you have a PC with your manager every single week, and some of you may have already heard me talk about this, but just like you have a PC with your manager every week, Like you should have a PC with your money every single week, especially right now as you're trying to get the startup together. And what do you do during it? Well, you can do whatever you want, but here's just a few suggestions. Look at how much money you made the previous week. What are your bills over the next 2 weeks? If you have any access, where are you going to put that? My suggestion is to put it in startup, right? So you can have that saved. How much do you have? How much did you spend in your trouble area, right? Trouble areas where you tend to excessively spend on something. It could be Chick-fil-A, it could be Starbucks, it could be shoes, whatever. And right now, like the goal is to cut that so that you could be putting as much into startup as possible. And how much do I want to make next week? As a rep, you have so much control of your business, right? Because it's all numbers. Like if you know, hey, it takes me 12 calls to get one demo. I need to make 120 calls this week so I could get my 10 demos booked, because then I'm going to sell X amount. I'm going to make this much amount. And that's what I need to do in order to save for startup. So those are just my couple of tips, of why startup is one, so important, the cash flow of the summer, and also just the review of startup. I know that, or the review of your, the review of your startup. Those are just a couple of keys and tips that I hope to leave you with. And I wanted to see if there's any questions. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Yeah, you guys have her right here, right now.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just really enjoyed the presentation. I learned so much from it. And I took a lot of notes. So I just want to say thank you, Patty, for presenting today.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much. This was very awesome. It was a lot of information. I think I took enough notes, but we'll see. And I just wanted to ask, when you were going over steps to building your startup and you were talking about savings, what do you think is like a good figure now? Because I know you haven't been like the game and stuff, so you haven't been active, but I was like, what was a good figure then? Like, what's a good figure now, to have in savings for your branch?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so as a branch, so as a district, I mean, back in the day when I opened up my district, my goal is to save 10 grand. Okay, so I got to like 7,500, I think. As a branch, I would say like 3,000 or 4,000 is probably a good figure. Kathy, do you have any input on that?
That's always been our number. 3 to 5K. 3,500 is like you really want to get at least there. And if you can get to 5K, even better. But that's always been ours. Hey, buddy. Mine is destroying over here. But yeah, right on the same page.
Perfect. As typical. So any other questions? Okay, well, next time I come talk to you guys, I'll be telling you a little bit about the rising stock service that we have. And basically it's like I was showing you the different facts and figures of how we've seen how much branches have been able to profit. It's because we track all their expenses for them. And at the end of the summer, they get this beautiful profit and loss statement that shows how much they earned, how much they spent on their business, and what their net profit was. And Kathy's a big supporter. She's on the program. She's been on the program for many years. And basically what the goal is that as a branch or district, you hand that to your accountant at the end of the year, and all your expenses are basically already on there. So if you're struggling for taxes right now, you might really appreciate that, so you don't have to go through receipts and everything. One of the things that you can do, I'm just going to share my screen one last time, Kathy, and then I will part.
No, go for it. And by the way, it's a no-brainer, y'all. Like, I mean, I paid a bookkeeper a couple $100 a month for everything with business, and just kind of shifted. I've always used Rising Stock, and I had somebody else, and then I was like, I don't need all this. Like, they do all of it for you. So it's
beautiful. So if you want to enroll, we do have an early bird contest. So anybody who enrolls before, and I'm not sure, I can't remember the date of when when we're speaking next, but anyone who enrolls before April 15th, tax day, gets entered into a drawing to win a $500 cash. So that can buy some stuff for your office. So if you wanted to enroll, you're probably going to do it anyway. So if you want to get that just over and done with, I just wanted to show you that QR code where you could be able to just go ahead and take a snap.
If they do it there now, Patty, are they able to click select for my startup or put a credit card in?
is 100% accurate. Yep, they can do either one. So and I'm just looking to double check that I am accurate here. Let's see. Actually, it doesn't even ask. So it just basically has you fill out your name, number, and everything, and then our main person Tola will reach out to you, and you can tell her, yeah, please take it out of my startup, or you can give her a credit card. So you can just let her know when she contacts you.
Awesome.